We are proud to introduce Dr. Gabriela Kaplan, who will be sharing with us medical secrets not taught in medical school. Dr. Kaplan is a medical doctor, a board-certified neuroradiologist. She trained and was on the teaching staff of Columbia University in New York, Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and the University of Michigan. Her interest in health and the environment led her to create the international think tank LifeWatch Group. That work has been acclaimed by several Nobel laureates and world leaders. Dr. Kaplan has lectured worldwide, including at UNESCO in Europe and the United Nations in Africa. She's on the medical advisory board of the International Center of Nutritional Studies, led by top Cornell University nutritionist Dr. T. Colin Campbell and Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Esselstyn, due to her work that proves nutrition helps cancer patients live healthy lives and cure many diseases, such as cardiovascular, diabetes, and several immune diseases. She is on the executive committee of the Northeast Ohio Sierra Club. Dr. Kaplan moved to our island to concentrate on her book, Top Doctors' Health and Beauty Secrets. Let's welcome Dr. Kaplan.
I'm here to share my journey in discovery of how to avoid top causes of diseases. These secrets are not taught in medical school. As you can see, this is the United States Treasury, the expenses, annual expenses. You can see the number one biggest expense is for health and human services. We can see that although we are the number one country in the world, and we have so much expense for health care, about 2/3 of Americans are overweight, 1/3 are killed by heart disease, and 1 in 11 have diabetes. The American Cancer Society estimates about 45% will end up dying of cancer. The number of people on disability is exploding, crippling our treasury and their quality of life. There is no incentive for the medical professional to admit that health care can be achieved simply by eating the correct foods, as this would decimate their income. Johns Hopkins published a report that shows that the third most common cause of death is due to medical errors and omissions. From the end of World War II to date, if we calculated deaths worldwide, these would add up to more deaths than the death toll World War II experienced. Medically related deaths can be prevented by merely changing our bad nutritional habits in a great deal of times, living our treasury and our lives a little lighter. The lack of knowledge by our physicians and the patients who refuse to give up the foods they are addicted to makes it difficult for our culture to change. There is also a war of misinformation, which confuses further, making it difficult to find out the truth. To most, fat diets, POPs, keto, vegans are popular. Miracle pills are touted every day. Bariatric surgery is embraced rather than accept to eat the correct foods. For example, keto diet can lead to gallstones, low blood pressure, kidney stones, constipation, nutrition deficiencies, lower immune systems, increased risk of heart disease, and deplete skeletal calcium, and a host of other complications. By eating what our bodies are physiologically designed to process, one will never suffer heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, have dementia, or obesity. Some of Alzheimer's and most of the immune systems and cancers can also be avoided or kept in check. Examples of top medical professionals who erred. For example, I give you 2 examples of medical professionals who erred. I cared for stage 4 of breast cancer for 23 years, who thrived on whole plant foods. For 23 years, she was doing terrific. She dies 4 months after switching to processed supplements. The patient's oncologist, due to lack of knowledge, placed her on processed supplements. She put her on Sastacal and Ensure in an effort for her to gain weight. She was healthy otherwise. These processed foods caused her cancer to grow, ending her life within 4 months, proving how the oncologist had no knowledge of nutrition. Another example. Prior caring for a type 1 diabetic, because I'm a neuroradiologist, I'm not an expert in diabetes, I tried to consult the top professor in diabetics and endocrinology. Fortunately, he was not available. So I proceeded to care for the patient. The reason this doctor was unavailable was because he was having his leg amputated from diabetes, and he died shortly after. Fortunately, my patient on this diet, to this date, is thriving, and all his blood work is normal. These are the top causes of death in America, according to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. You can see the number 1 is heart disease. Number 2 is cancer. Accidents don't count. Respiratory disease from asthma and whatnot don't count. But next one is cerebral vascular disease, which is also due to abnormal vessels due to diet. Next one is Alzheimer's, which is related to diet. Then diabetes is related to a diet. Then we have maybe renal hypertension, which is of course due to abnormal arteries. So if you add all together, the line will go up to here, and it's all related to what you put in your fork. New discoveries on human health. Dr. Campbell, a nutritionist from Cornell University, discovered the top 5 causes of diseases in the developed world are due to eating animal products and processed foods. This work, published in the book The China Studies, shows that the cause of disease when using animal products and processed foods irritate and erode arteries and tissues, leading to clots, emboli, and feed tumor. So we now know the etiology of the majority of causes of death and disease. This revolutionary work was done as a joint project with Cornell University, Oxford, and the Chinese Academy of Preventive Medicine. We must understand where we come from. We have to know our human origins. About 8 million years ago, humans evolved from primates. Modern gorillas, for example, have 98% the same DNA as humans. The Cleveland Zoo fed their gorillas kibble, enriched process containing some animal products and preservatives. Due to this, the entire gorilla troop became obese, had diabetes, was hypertensive, and heart disease. When one of the gorillas died from cardiac disease, the vet stopped the kibble and fed them what they ate in the wild: roots, shoots, fruits, and nuts. To date, all the gorillas have regained their health and are not obese. This documentary can be found online if you just click on Cleveland Zoo, Gorillas and Heart Disease. It's extraordinary. Battle of the Bulge. By the time I was 50, by the way, I'm 76 now, I looked portly. I thought that being portly is natural. It's just human nature. But I didn't accept that. So I ate tiny portions, was always hungry all the time in order to try to keep my weight down. I tried many diets and exercise, but all failed. When I tried the Atkins diet, which is the same as a keto diet more or less, this Atkins diet is based only in animal products, no whole plants. It avoids all carbohydrates. In that diet, I lost 7 pounds. The second year, I regained those 7 pounds, but my cholesterol went up to 280, and I became pre-diabetic. My internist prescribed statins to lower the cholesterol. The statins, however, caused me cramps, which can be very dangerous. We tried various statins, but they caused cramp too. Fearing a stroke and heart attack, I felt helpless. If one thinks that statins are a cure, think again. According to the National Institute of Health, quote, statins do not reduce sudden cardiac death, all cause mortality, but maybe slightly decrease hospitalization stays. During my neuroradiology practice, I saw thousands of patients suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's, strokes, and brain tumors. The most upsetting were the stroke victims. Have you seen a stroke patient? They can't talk. They drool often from the side of the mouth. They have a flaccid arm and leg, so they become paralyzed from one side of the body, and it makes them wheelchair bound for the rest of their lives. As my internist had run out of therapies and statins were harming me and I could not take them anymore, I turned to the chief of surgery of the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Esselstyn. Years prior, when I was 36, 20 years before, Esselstyn tried to convince me to become a vegetarian to avoid cardiovascular disease. At the time, my father, a vegetarian, had died in a motor vehicle accident. His autopsy showed that all his arteries were severely narrowed with cholesterol. Since during my entire medical career, no one recommended a vegetarian diet to address cardiovascular problems, and even Einstein had become a vegetarian but died of a ruptured aneurysm, I concluded that a vegetarian diet was a waste of time. During the consultation with Dr. Esselstein at the Cleveland Clinic, he recommended, and he always says this, avoid eating anything that comes from a mother or has a mother, including eggs and dairy. That means shrimp, oysters, crabs, fish, any animal. After 2 years of strictly adhering to this concept, my weight and abnormal lab tests did not change. I consulted him again, pointing out that his diet was not one size fits all. He then asked me, so what are you eating? I said, nothing that comes from a mother, or has a mother, or eggs, or dairy. But he replied, but what else are you eating? I said, for instance, for breakfast I have Cheerios or Rice Krispies, waffles, fruit juice, coffee, syrup. And for meals I'll have veggie burgers, diet sodas, tofu, veggie pizza, white noodles, white rice, white sugar, white bread, fat-free, sugar-free, anything available. He said, that's why. These are all processed. This chart shows the death from heart disease and cancer in the red, and the amount of unrefined calories that people have. For instance, in the United States, we have very little unrefined, and the death is huge. In these poor countries, Laos and Thailand, they have most unrefined, and that mortality is very low. So it's indirectly proportioned. The more refined you eat, the more mortality of cancer and cardiovascular disease you have. Once I stopped all processed foods, because not eating animal products is not sufficient. That's why my father had so much cholesterol, because he was only a vegetarian. He did not know you also have to do the processed foods. When I stopped all processed foods and continued not eating any animal products, I lost 25 pounds and all my normal blood work resolved and have remained the same for the past 25 to 30 years. However, my rapid weight loss, which took place in about 2 to 3 months, damaged the liver and gave me also stress to the kidneys, like causing ketosis. When we lose weight, it's not just water. We're killing some of our cells. And these cells have to be metabolized. And so how do they go through? They go through the kidneys, they go through the liver. And when you are dumping so many dead cells, you're losing 25 pounds and whatnot, you're really stressing these organs. And it could be very dangerous. So avoid rapid weight loss. And in order to avoid it, you have to eat a lot. Even if you're not hungry, you have to keep on eating so that you decrease the weight loss. I also was not aware that when you are in this kind of diet, you need to take vitamin B complex, including B12. If you don't, you can end up anemic and you can end up demented. So I can see a huge generation of vegans out there who are going to be just like zombies. Their brain's going to be gone, because once you start getting demented, there is no such thing as a brain transplant. So be careful. You have to know what you're doing. One of the great things about this whole plant food is that you don't count calories. You can eat as often as you want. The portions can be as huge as you want. And so in order to avoid being hungry, it is recommended to take 5 fruits during the day. Sometimes I carry a banana or an orange in my purse. I just have 5 fruits during the day. You keep your glucose levels nice and steady, and you're not hungry. And that is why you have to remember to eat, because your desire to eat has been quelled by the fruits that you're taking. Fearing a stroke, I decided that no matter how delicious lobster, turkey, filet mignon could be, are not worth risking a stroke. Because of this, I embraced the correct type of nutrition that we humans physiologically are designed to eat, just like the gorillas. As soon as they stopped eating the modern things that we have, all these processed foods, they became healthy. Diet is a 4-letter word. Diets are, at the beginning, causing weight loss. But when we resume the old habits, not only we regain the pounds we lost, but we also pine on top. This is a yo-yo, which is so unhealthy. Plant-based foods with non-processed heal, not like the other ones. Our immune system responds by sending lymphocytes, T cells, etc., to repair and regenerate our the damaged animals' products and process caused. Unfortunately, our brains did not regenerate so easily. So to date, no brain transplants can be performed. So better avoid damaging it by means of prevention. Our bodies are like a Ferrari that require high octane. Can you expect the top performance of these if you fuel it all the time with diesel? Note, our pets are carnivorous, so please don't put them on a plant-based diet. Give them all the meats and they'll be fine. Cheating. A dear friend, a Catholic priest, started developing dementia, which is due to loss of brain cells from clogging, from arteries narrowing, from cholesterol, which is caused by inflammation because of the foods we eat. When I visited him for an entire weekend, I quietly observed what he ate. He ate lots of salads, lots of fruits, some rice and potatoes, some bread, wine, and coffee. Once he embraced the whole food meals, he was experiencing fainting spells. When I pointed out to him that he was not eating any protein, which is why he was fainting, he blushed and replied, "Yes, I eat protein when there is a wedding, a baptism, etc. About 3 or 4 times a month, which I replied, "Father, you love taking confessions. Say a nice married man with a great family comes to confession and admits he has a girlfriend, and he sees her about 3 or 4 times a month for around a couple hours. We can't lie to our body. We cannot lie to God. We must do this correctly or suffer the consequences." So what do we eat? Our organism requires 80% of carbohydrates, 10% of fats, and 10% of lipids, which are fats. Altering this ratio will unstabilize and can make us ill. Carbohydrates, which are sugars. Nowadays, there's a movement to demonize sugar. They say sugar is the devil. Stay away from sugar. White sugar, artificial sugars, brown sugar, stevia are no-nos. They are all processed. They are deadly to your health. More complex sugars come from potatoes, beans, corn, lima beans, lentils, sweet potatoes, oats, barley, rice. So use great portions of this and you will have your carbohydrates. To keep our glucose level, use fruits but not juices. Juices are by definition processed. Avoid canned fruits, jellied fruits, smoothies, all these are processed. Next is lipids, which we need 10%. Try to eat 1 gram per serving. Look at the little labels. 1 portion, for instance, of roasted peanuts has 14 grams of fat. So you are way over, okay? So you must stick to about 1 to 2 grams of fat per serving. One small avocado is 23 grams of fat. There's nothing wrong with avocado, but for you to have 1 to 2 grams, you have a very tiny little slice. So remember, there's a ratio. You cannot have more than about 1 to 2 grams per serving. Stay away from fat, especially from all oils. You have to stay, including olive oil, because they're processed. For you to get the oil in a little jar, you have to process it. It's all processed. You eat sufficient fats and lipids by eating nuts, olives, peas, legumes, chickpeas, lentils, black beans, butternuts, cashews, almonds, sunflower seeds, and tahini. Next is protein. We need 10% of protein. Beans, spinach, broccoli, peas, greens, lentils, nuts and seeds, and most grains. Remember Popeye? Nowadays, Arnold Schwarzenegger too is eating spinach, which is a great source of strength from protein. Processed. Putting whole foods in a blender, a juicer, a smoothie machine renders food to become processed. Processed foods also have additives and preservatives. Some are bleached, enriched, added with vitamins, proteins, are all not natural or whole, so avoid them. Read the labels. How to cook. Boil, puree by hand, roast, grill, barbecue, or microwave. Crock pots are ideal, but you can cook slowly, decreasing the destruction of the nutrients and allowing to make large batches. Harvard evaluated all cooking methods and concluded that the best is to microwave. After cooking, if we cook in large batches, divide the portions and freeze them in small portions for future use. But don't cook them with a freezer bag because it's harmful. The plastic is harmful. So just take them out of the bag and then warm them up. This is a chart that shows the emissions. Who's causing the biggest emissions? Animal products. Beefs, lamb, cheese, meat, nuts so small, potatoes so small, bananas so small. So the big bulk of the CO2 footprint that we have is from animal products. And so now, look at this. Humans have a very peculiar habit. They're so set on their ways. They have to have oxygen. But what happens when there's no oxygen? We only have CO2. Can we survive? We're destroying the Amazon in order to clear the forest, in order to raise soy and corn to feed the animals, who in turn harm us and cost us our lives and our economy. So we have to remember that when you're putting a piece of chicken or fish, whatever, you are asking to have the forest destroyed so that you can raise these crops. Just 2 days ago, this report came out. And these top physicists have calculated with new formulas that we might be out of time to save our planet. We were thinking that we could just, decrease our fuel engines and go to solar and solar panels, but it might be too late. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it seems like our tipping point has been almost surpassed. So if you don't take care of your health, how can we take care of the planet? And we have another habit, which is that we like to have children. And so when you have children and you don't care for yourself, you don't care for the environment, what planet are they going to inherit? There's not going to be a planet for them to live. So think about it. Don't be selfish. Think about others. So before I receive this terrible message that we might be beyond the tipping points, I promised you I was going to talk about looking nice. But when the planet is falling apart, who cares about the wrinkles? But we're going to talk about it anyway because we like to be positive. We like to think that maybe we can do something. When COVID came, it was hard to believe that we all will start wearing masks. That we will stop, not all, but so many will stop going to work. We're going to just do it from home. We changed overnight. So yes, we can be pliable. We can sometimes change our ways. So maybe there is a way that we can suddenly realize that this is a serious thing. We're going to talk about beauty. You've always seen those pictures of the witch of the north, yes? How she has a sagging nose. The nose goes down.
Oh, that's the witch of the west.
It goes down. It goes down. So we have a bunch of muscles around your lips. They're called the orbituralis orbis. And so what you do is you pretend you're going to push this nose up. You go like this. You're making a muscle so that when you have a strong muscle, you will not have those little striations, which is so typical of old people. You pump, you do facial push-ups. You give a little push-up to your muscles around your lips to build up those muscles and pretend you're pushing up your nose. So if you're doing muscle push-ups, you're pushing your bones to get stronger. So they build up. So you're doing but you first have to do this little exercise in front of the mirror. Because if you see that you're making striations, no, you have to figure a way to, like you're blowing balloons without wrinkling. Another muscle exercise you do, you flatten your lips and pretend you're touching the sides of your ears. Go like this. Put your fingers over the bottom of your chin. What happens to those muscles? Are they nice and strong? Mm-hmm. So you don't end up having a chin. Okay? So then the other thing is, the sun is our enemy. Whenever you get exposed to the sun, you're going to get pigment you're going to get wrinkles. And when you're in the sun, of course, you're going to wince because you want to close down your eyes. So what you do is you wear sunglasses to avoid wrinkling. And then you put sun lotion. Make sure that the sun lotion is the highest possible. A 10 is a good one. And see that it's not going to destroy the corals, because so much sun lotion goes into the oceans and they kill the corals. So look at one that's friendly to the environment. And when you apply the cream, don't ever pull on your skin. Just tap it, tap it, tap it. Because every time you pull the skin is attached to the subcutaneous tissue with very fine microfibrils. The moment you pull, you're going to break those little fibers and your skin is loose. It's just floating like a sheet. So you don't want to pull ever. You just want to tap. All right? And then, of course, you have, guys don't care, but ladies, if you're wearing a low-cut dress, you have a fancy party, it would be stupid to have your face look terrific and all this full of wrinkles and ugly. So you want to make sure that you also put it, if of course you have a high color and you're in the sun, why put sun lotion? But if you're with a low-cut thing, wear it wherever. But don't put it all over your body, just only on your face and your neck. Why? Because you need the sun, which is giving you vitamin D. Vitamin D is vital for your bones. Without vitamin D, you cannot absorb calcium. So it's extremely important, and especially in the northern places like here, there's less sunshine. So you want to get as much sunshine as possible. Wear slow sleeves and shorts so you get all that. But your face, you spare. And then what else you do? You buy a $2 sponge, okay? And so this is the scouring part, and this is the soft part. So in the night, you put a very heavy cream such as Aquaphor, which is really cream. It's almost like mentholatum, very thick. And so you put dabs of it. By the time you put your pajamas, it's nice and soft. So because otherwise it's like clumps. So then you distribute it with your fingers like that, never pulling, just distributing everywhere. And then in the morning, when you wake up and you wash your face, you don't rub your face. You just splash it very gently, pass all over the skin, and with a very mild soap. And then you wet this portion of the sponge, and then you are doing exfoliation every day. You exfoliate your skin every day with this portion of the rough portion. And of course you wash it afterwards. And so you're gonna have my skin. I'm 76 years old.
No wrinkles.
Beautiful.
You want to have your teeth look good. You have to floss every day. That was the secret. So you floss once a day, and you brush your teeth once a day. Why do you not want to brush your teeth more than once a day? The little pumice that the brushes have will shade down your enamel, and enamel does not grow. You can't go buy it. You cannot take it by taking calcium pills. You have to preserve it. So you clean it just once at night after you ate all the things. Then you clean it, you floss it, and you don't want to ever drink whatever you have been for a little bit of the tooth paste, because it's got some noxious things. So you want to just give a little bit of a mouthwash with water and throw it out. You don't want to drink any of that. You look good when you sleep well. So 8 hours is an ideal amount of sleep. If you have a hard time sleeping at night, read a book on physiology. It'll put you to sleep in believe me. If you have the television, you're going to be up all night. You're going to see the next one, the next one, the next one. No, you want to read something extremely boring. Stress is a very destructing thing. It really shows in your face. It shows in your body. And socialization. What made them happy and healthy, was gossip. They get up in the morning like you, and they get together and they talk about such and such, or who's doing this and that and whatnot. That socialization is extremely healthy. But your health is important, so you have to also, care for your body. But your spirit is by socializing, by being part of the community. So all those things have to be a balance.
The best exercise is dancing. Music adds to your well-being, for it stirs your soul.
Like you're doing here, yoga.
Avoid running, it is hard on your joints. By embracing this healthy lifestyle, you will never have to worry about being overweight. The extra pounds will vanish for as long as you don't cheat. Pass the word. Word of mouth can change the world overnight. Because with faith, all is possible.